through your tracking. They are learning a little bit because you're helping break down a process for them, but really it's their play, your presence, and then reflection that's going to be what's the more healing part of it. Tracking is, I'm here, I'm paying attention, I'm giving you some words, not labeling, but some words. Did y'all see that I labeled earlier on? I labeled the box.
What's your process for teaching parents for whom they've been separated from their children and there's been abuse and neglect and they don't have custody?
So if there's that situation, it has to be supervised. So it just means there's somebody else supervising it. Always use video. We use video. They bring the video to me, and the way I did it is we did it in a group. So they had the playtime, special playtime. They each got a kit. This is what I did in my dissertation. They each got a kit, and then we would bring the video, and they would show little parts that they wanted. But I reviewed all of their videos. I like to do it best individually, so that I can really work with what's happening. They're not going to be able. It's unrealistic to expect a parent to do it, even at the end, the way I just did. It's just there's a parental relationship. There's so much going on that they can get close, but I'm not going to get them on for labeling. I'm not going to get right. There's a priority based on each parent of where I kind of want to emphasize, and most of it is getting some direction here and getting some awareness about limits and discipline. So there'll be a whole other lesson that will happen each time about discipline from this, which goes to the redirection, the context, and kind of hitting that over and over and over again. It takes time. It's for many parents, it's a complete shift.
And you had really impressive outcomes. Can you discuss that a bit?
With the parents? Well, I will tell you the level, because when you're working with parents who refer for child abuse and neglect, it's a severe population. I would say every parent made progress to the point where they look forward to the session, they had changed their attitudes about corporal punishment, because this is, the research on corporal, I'm just going to come out and say it, it's bad. I mean, there's absolutely no empirical reason to ever physically punish a child. So I'm going to go as far as to say that it's teaching, not punishment. So it's a whole different paradigm for many of the parents that I worked with. And they were a lot, they could set limits. They could say, I'm not for hitting, you can hit the wall. Whereas before, it would have been a very different situation. And it was every parent in my group could get, which is pretty shocking, and that every single one could make some movement. I don't know how long it held, right? We didn't do any follow-up. But and that's where the number of sessions, it takes time, because they were this is a big shift. But having the experience and seeing how other people's experiences were playing out and what they were learning. So I had one parent who wouldn't there was the category of nice toys, and she had them on a shelf where they could reach, but they weren't allowed to play. So, I mean, right. So constantly disciplining the kid not to play with the toys that she was saving. So by the end, it was, the toys are for the kids. If you don't want them to play, they're out of sight.
How many sessions did you have with those parents?
10. And that was all of them. So introduction, probably 7 place sessions, and then a follow-up.
And is that once weekly or bi-weekly?
They were weekly.
How long were they?
The sessions with the parents, I think they were an hour and a half, and then they did half an hour, I think half-hour sessions with their kids, maybe 40 minutes. Maybe it was And we may have started 20 and then extended because it's hard to maintain when you're not used to doing it for very long.
How many people were like in the group?
And we had a control group, and so there was a statistically significant difference between the control and that, which was the control was standard, the standard treatment. So it wasn't that they had nothing, they had a standard parenting ed class.
Did you find any difference between like the mothers and the fathers reacting to that? Or did you only have?
I had both,
Oh, you had both.
but I only had a couple of dads, so it was skewed. It was hard to generalize any differences. The dads, the two dads that I had were more likely to like pick up stuff and kind of start playing with them. So, which worked out in its own way, you know. Again, that's not purely non-directive, but it was facilitating bonding. It was doing what we were hoping. So.
Unless you've taken it home in the last few weeks, we have her dissertation and we're in our back in the library.
We do?
We do. We have her dissertation. We have a ton of
Child therapy stuff, couples therapy stuff.
on the look.
Yeah, it was when I learned, so the way I learned this, I wanted to work with adolescents, and I had children, I had little children, I had no idea what to do. So I had to go to workshops and really teach myself, and then was just blown away by it. I just couldn't believe what the kids were doing. And then when I learned that you could teach parents, it just made all the sense in the world to me. So. And any questions about the toys? Yes.
What are some toys that you would add or take away for example, like a domestic abuse scenario? What would you want to add?
Okay, so for, some playrooms have anatomically correct dolls. You would only use that when you absolutely know they respect the history of that kind of abuse. So that you would add as needed. I was surprised when it came in that it was like this whole machine, like it was like a big, but as you can see, it's not going to encourage or discourage. They're going to play with it how they want to play with it. I would add, in a playroom, I would have a sandbox. I would have a full kitchen. I would have puppets. I would have puppets actually in them. I would have what's more obviously a cell phone, because that's what they see their parents doing is really important. And there's not a kid on this planet, well, maybe not on this planet, not a kid in this country, but I've seen no parent on that phone probably more than they all should be. It's true for all of us. What else would I have? Oh, a Bobo doll, one of those punching. I think I would have that in a trowel if I could. Something to punch, something to get some of that physical energy, so that even with the parent doing that, then they can see that, you know, it's part of play. Yeah. Maybe some more dress-up stuff. We always had costumes and a doctor's. I always had a doctor's kit, which is really important.
So more stuff for kind of role-playing situations that they're seeing.
Right. So you saw in the video, she was taking the blood pressure. She spent a lot of time. Kids spend a lot of time. I'm actually surprised it's not in this. And I would have more dolls for the dollhouse. These little family dolls don't really go with the dollhouse. I would have more of the little ones to go in there. Yeah.
Did you like make your list of things that you wanted and then go on Amazon and pick them all out? Or
There's one filial therapy kit, one, and this is it. And I just figured I'd get it, and then if I wanted to keep pursuing it, they'll fill it in as they need. This was great. I like this little dish thing. So to have that, you know, and again, in a playroom you can have sinks, you can have dolls and play beds, and I mean, there's a lot that you can have in there that, and the easel, remember from the video where they can actually paint and make a mess.
If he had taken the checkers apart and wanted to play, would you have engaged in being the other side, or would you have had an instructor?
I would have had him instruct me.
Okay.
Because chances are, at his developmental level, actually playing checkers is not gonna happen. So, but it would have been interesting, we would have seen how he was interpreting, he's probably seeing his brothers playing. And it would have been an opportunity if he needed that feeling, of winning. I did that, so we would have been able to do that. And really, those should have been pulled off of the thing. That was another decision. Do I just go ahead and pull them off or leave them? He decided to put them on either side. He kind of did it his own way, so I just left
With a client, at the end of a session, they finish playing, maybe things are a little disarranged, would you ask them to help you clean, or is that not part of their job?
it. Other therapists, I feel very strongly about that. If you ask them to clean, you can limit their play, right? Those who get that they're gonna have to clean it up.
Like do this, or-
So I always clean up the playroom. And I was a real stickler about that too. Like everything, these kids had a lot of disorder in their lives. That playroom needed to be predictable. When they came in, everything was in the place they remembered. Which meant that I most often stayed in there cleaning up. Which again, I was the one that felt the strongest about it, therefore it was fine. That was okay. Yeah.
How about like if you were parents and you're doing the play therapy with your children at home, do they ask them to clean the toys?
If they're working with me, I would say it's your job to clean it up after them. I would discourage them asking them to clean that. Again, this is not the teaching time, so I'm not saying at home, this is not how we want to interact with kids all the time. At home, I do believe in kids having chores and kids helping and feeling good about that, but this is different. This is a different kind of time for them. It's much more about the relationship healing and attachment, not about teaching responsibility. There's plenty of other lessons.
When you worked with them, with the parents, did they only do it when they came in with you and then they didn't do play therapy at home? They just played with them normally?
Well, when I did play therapy as an outpatient therapy, when they
Yeah.
did it in my office, they didn't do it at home. I did have some clients where I decided that was more important than me doing it. I think I had one or two. Generally, I wanted to see what was going on first, and then if it made sense, could then refer.
How did they distinguish from their play therapy time and the kids just playing on their own? Like, how did they do that? Was there like
They would say, and these toys are just for this, so they weren't to be mixed in with their other toys. They had special play time. They had tried to get it the same time every week. This is our special time, so that there's a boundary around it, and that those toys were never mixed in, or so it was a special, its own thing. Yeah, that's a great question, because otherwise, now that doesn't mean they can't, when they're playing with their kids otherwise, then weave some of that in, some of the same ideas in when they're playing. But the filial time for those sessions, for those 10 weeks was, there was a question over here.
Do you not do this anymore?
No, I haven't done this in 20 years.
What made you like change from perspective?
It was really, I was having my own kids for one thing. I wanted to go back and I haven't, let's see, 2000, it's not been quite 20 years. It's been 15 years. So I stopped doing clinical therapy to go back with Sabrina and to work on my dissertation. We got our doctorates. She got hers first. And I did the filial therapy for my doctorate. And so I set up that study and I did filial therapy then. And then I got into leadership. I got a job here, actually, to design a leadership program. And that seemed pretty fun. And then about that point, I had one teeny one and went on the way. It's pretty intensive to work with kids while you have your own kids. And I had left the community services board because that just was really intensive work. That it was time. I saw people that were burnt out, and I just didn't want to be like that.
Do you think you'd ever go back to it, or?
I don't think I would go back into formal counseling, but this idea of working with the Department of Social Services and helping parents through supervisors, that would be interesting to me. So empowering parents to engage with their kids in this way is interesting, more interesting to me than doing the actual therapy. It's for me, it was, I loved it, I truly loved it. It never completely left me. So.
What would you say is the upper age limit of developmentally typical children that you would use play therapy with?
I would use non-directive up to 6, maybe 7. It would depend, I might have to modify it. And after that, more directive or semi-structured forms. Or where you set some scenes up or something, it's going to work a little better. Because if you start saying to an 8-year-old, they say, what's this? It's whatever you want to think about. What are you talking about? So there's a limit to how long that's going to be. When I was a therapist, they had it up to 8 or 9. I just didn't find that it worked. So I think way there.
When you worked with adolescents, because you did a lot with adolescents,
There's a lot of adolescents.
how directive or non-directive do you recall typically doing?
It was interesting, there was still play, actually, because when I did in-home, I would pick kids up from school, we'd go shoot basketball, we'd shoot battle, we'd go walk on the freeway, we would draw, we would do something that they were interested in, and then through that, we would talk. I almost never just talked. There was always something else that then the talk was secondary. And, we might go to within him, I could leave, I wasn't stuck in an office, so we could go where they were. I also had a small dog that was really sweet, and I found that they would talk to the dog a lot more than to me. And I might say, for a younger kid, I might set up a conversation that would deal with what was going on, so they could project it. But if you knew what was going on, I could set some things up that could lift what needed to be lifted. I'm trying to think of adolescents. I also worked a lot with parents, even with adolescents, maybe even especially, on, their role is changing with how to parent. And some parents would have trouble with changing that role and picking battles and figuring out what was important and what they were going to set a limit on and how to engage through that time. So I would prefer with adolescents to do mostly family systems work where we have the whole family system in and look at things systemically. Because the adolescent can be a real expert there. A real expert, which is helpful, right? They see things in a way that the parents don't. And that systems work with smaller kids too. And the kids could draw things, and it's amazing how the drawings would reflect what might be happening or at least how the child's perceived their system.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions, if you have any.
I know last time you said that you never have the children call, you have them call you Katherine. So when you're working with the parents, what do they call coming to see you? Was it just special play?
How did the parents?
Yeah.
So when I would say how did I put that? Because So by the time I didn't do the initial, when they came through the door, that was already set up. And so when I would say, I would tell the parents how I was gonna work with the kids, and I would say that it was special time their time to play and talk about the things they wanted to talk about. The little ones. More direct with the old ones.
Yeah.
And I always had a goal so as soon as they hit maybe 9, 10, they knew their goal. And we would talk about their goal and the objectives and where they were, and the kids were really in charge of that. So for a younger kid, it would just, we would have goals, even with non-directive. I would know what I was looking for and what changes we were hoping outside of the play, that we were hoping the play could facilitate. And you don't, there's no way to know that that's actually going to do it. Any questions for Grove? Grove, you want to answer any questions? So do you all feel like Grove taught you how to play?
Yeah.
Grove says this is his first time teaching. So this is, you all get to be his first students. All right, well, thank you, Grove. Thank you all for being so engaged. And any questions you have, I'm here on Tuesdays, so just come and see me. And if I keep going with this, yeah, David. What do you all think about that idea? About doing the supervised visitation? Because the way it is now is there's someone behind a two-way mirror and they're in this kind of sterile room, maybe with some old toys. That's it. It feels like that's an opportunity. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, if you would kindly see if we could put everything into the desk. See if Gabe's coming back in.
Or save the head for last.